Hi, Bob Haig here. Now, I've been using the Soundcraft UI16 for the last 6 years or so, and I think I have some insights into its use. I'm going to do a series of videos talking about those insights, and today I'd like to talk about the connecting issue some of us are having. Let's get started.
Now, my UI16 travels to and from gigs in a generic, light-duty, shallow 6-space rack thingy. It's worked just fine for the last 6 years. On the inside, you'll find the UI and a 20-amp Furman power conditioner. Why 20 amps? I'll be talking about that in a future video, so if you're interested, hit the subscribe button. In the back, you'll find my external router, foot switch to turn the effects on and off, various cables, and so forth. Tablets. This tablet is made by a company called Unbranded. I guess that means it's not branded. It was under $50 on eBay, runs Windows 10, works just fine. The other tablet I have is a Nokia 2520. And the reason I picked that one is because it is the brightest tablet I've been able to find to date. And that helps when you're outside. It's brighter than a Surface. It's brighter than an iPad. It runs an extinct version of Windows called Windows RT, but hey, it still works. Came with this nice little carrying stand and a keyboard that I've never used. And the whole thing was $79 on eBay. I don't think they make it anymore, but you can probably still find them.
The first gig I did with the UI16 was at Seven Springs Ski Resort. That's a beautiful resort southeast of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was a beautiful sunny day. The band was set up by the swimming pool. It was a low volume gig. I had the UI16 and a pair of EV ZLX 12P speakers on poles. It was about 20 minutes before the band was supposed to start. I had music playing through a jump drive on the UI16 when suddenly the music stopped. Dead silence. So I go over to the tablet and there's the connecting message. I was a bit surprised because I was maybe 25 feet away from the mixer, dead line of sight. Moved around, could not get it to reconnect. In fact, the only option was a complete reboot. So we rebooted, everything worked fine until towards the end of the second set. Again, I get the connecting message. This time the music didn't stop. The band was able to finish the night, even though I had no control. So that was my first experience with the connecting issue. The next gig we had was at Bubba's Burgers. It was my band. Bubba's Burgers is an interesting place. If you're sitting at a table in the club, you can look straight ahead and watch the band. You can look to your left through these large windows, and there's a hockey rink. You can watch a college hockey game. I had a good friend doing sound with the tablet out front. In the middle of the first set, he comes walking up to the stage and shows me the tablet, and it again says connecting. I was surprised because I had purchased a larger antenna for the unit. We all know the bigger is better. I had installed some Wi-Fi analyzer apps on my iPhone and had found the channel with the least amount of traffic. And as a backup, I had directly wired my Chromebook to the LAN port on the UI16 so that I would have a direct connection. So when he showed me the connecting issue on the laptop, I directed him to the Chromebook. And wouldn't you know, when you looked at the Chromebook, it also said connecting. That was the only issue we had that night. Of course, we had to do a complete reboot, but at that point, I was determined to get to the bottom of what was happening. So during the next week, I set the unit up in my living room, much like you see here, played music on the jump drive, and just let it go. And I found that sometimes it would go for 20 minutes before you would get the connecting issue. Sometimes it would go for 3 hours, sometimes an hour and a half. It just seemed completely random. But inevitably, you always got the connecting issue eventually. So then I began experimenting to see just what was causing this. and I began to suspect that perhaps this wasn't a connecting issue at all. Now, before I retired, I ran a computer network at a local school district, about 500 PCs, 120 Macs, 11 servers. I know a bit about computer networks. So when the thing went to connecting, I dropped to a command prompt and did a test to see if there was a connection between the unit and the tablet. I did what's called a ping test, and sure enough, even though it said connecting, the unit was still pinging successfully. There was still a connection between the UI16 and the tablet. So even though the screen said connecting, this was not actually a connecting issue. Let me repeat that. Even though the screen says connecting, it's not actually a connecting issue. Something else is going on because the Wi-Fi connection between the tablet and the unit was still good, even though it said connecting. I then began to experiment to find out just what you needed to do to get this thing to not give you that connecting message. And here's what I found out.
So through trial and error, I discovered that if either the hotspot or the Wi-Fi is enabled, this unit, my unit, will crash. It will give you that connecting message, which is actually, in my opinion, a computer crash. So you have to disable the hotspot, you have to disable the Wi-Fi, which means you're going to have to find a different solution to connect to this thing. The LAN connection works just fine, and that actually is the solution.
Now, what I believe is happening is that some bug, either in the hardware or the software part of the Wi-Fi and hotspot in the UI, is causing a system crash. Think blue screen of death on a Windows PC. If you run either the hotspot or the Wi-Fi on the unit, or at least in my case and many others, this unit will crash. If you disable the hotspot and the Wi-Fi, the unit works just fine. The solution I found, of course, was an external router, $38 for this Belkin router, connected to the LAN port of the UI16, and I've been using this thing now for 6 years. With that router, I have not had one single crash with this unit. It has been absolutely rock solid. And the features you get for $400 can't be beat. So I hope this helps.